Hello everyone, I am Sini Shibu from the Department of Computer Applications of the Bhopal School of Social Sciences. I have been talking about programming with C++ and data structures, and in this subject, today I am going to talk about three major concepts: message passing, object-oriented languages, and object-based languages. In today's lecture, the basic objective is to know about the message passing mechanism, to understand the features of object-oriented languages, to understand the features of object-based languages, and also to differentiate between object-oriented languages and object-based languages. So talking about message passing, let me share an analogy. Suppose Ram wishes to send a message to Shyam. There are three important things that Ram has to take care of. First of all, he needs to understand who is the object to which he is going to send the message. So here in this case, the object is going to be Shyam. The next thing is, what is he going to share with Shyam? So here, the message that Ram is going to give to Shyam is going to be the function that they are going to share. And finally, what is the information to be passed in that function? So probably Ram might want to tell Shyam, call me urgently. So here in this mechanism, we have seen there are two entities, Ram and Shyam, and they are going ahead and doing a message passing mechanism. Here, the major thrust is on object, the function, and the information to be passed. In the general scenario, the same concept of message passing can be applied to programming as well. So in the object-oriented paradigm, we have objects, those are communicating with each other by sending and receiving information. As we all know, in object-oriented programming, we talk about objects being entities of the class. They are going to share information with each other. A message for an object is a request for execution of a procedure, and therefore it will invoke a function in the receiving object that generates the desired results. The message passing mechanism in object-oriented programming again involves three major concepts. Firstly, the name of the object that identifies who is going to be the recipient of the message. The second is the name of the function which identifies what function is to be applied. And thirdly, the information to be sent in the message. So in the object-oriented programming paradigm, the message passing is an important concept which allows interchange of messages between the objects. Now let us understand the concept of message passing in a bit more detail. Firstly, a request. A request for an object to perform one of its operations is called a message. So when we talk about a message, we are talking about a message that is being communicated between two objects by requesting a kind of communication. The second is the operation, which means it is going to invoke the method or the function. The third one is a message cannot go automatically. It creates an interface, which means it creates an interface for an object. The interface provides the abstraction over the message. Now let us understand what is an abstraction. In the common term, we would define abstraction as hiding the details from the programmer. So here in this case, the interface will provide an abstraction over the message. It means it hides all implementation that is going underneath. Hence, an interface is a set of operations that give the object the idea of how it can perform the message passing activity. In message passing, all communication between objects, as we have said, is done via a message. And this is called message passing. To make message passing possible, the following things have to be done. Firstly, we need to create classes that define objects and its behavior. Now, we saw that a communication may take place from one object to the other. So in that case, to create an object, we need to create a class first, and only then we can create objects. The second thing, once a class is created, we need to create the objects from the class definitions. We all know that objects are going to be the instances of classes. Once a class is created and the objects are created, then we can call and connect the communication amongst the objects. So we have to take care that while we are doing message passing from one object to the other, the first thing that we do is we create a class. The second thing that we do is we create objects from the class, and once the objects are created, we are going to call and connect the objects so that we can create an environment where objects can communicate with each other through message passing. Now that we have seen the concept of message passing, let me take you through an example of message passing in C++ programming language. Here you see there are two classes, class A and class B. Class A has a method 1 and an object that is being passed to it. The method can have any of the statements that does some of the communication. Now in class B, there are objects that are being created. Here, the first object that is being created is obj1, which is basically an object of the object class. The second one is a small a, which is an object of the A class. So once these both are created, we are calling this method method1 with a parameter obj1. Now if you look at these two classes, what we see is this is a method 1, which is a method of class A, and it is being invoked here with the help of a parameter obj1. So we see that there is a communication link between both the classes. Also kindly remember that a class is always going to be ended with a semicolon. It indicates that the class has been completed and the entire definition of the class has been completed. In this example, things to note are, first we have created classes. We have created class A and class B. We have created objects. In class A, no object is created, but here you see that objects are being created in these lines. Once we have done both these things, the next part is the communication, and this is the statement that helps you to communicate with each other. Both the classes are being communicating with the help of message passing. So I hope that this example clearly indicates how communication can take place between classes with the help of objects and methods. The next topic that I am going to explain is object-oriented languages. We have been listening to a lot of object-oriented languages being used in programming. But what exactly are object-oriented languages? They are basically high-level computer programming languages, and they implement objects and their associated procedures within the programming context to create software programs. So what is the essentiality of object-oriented languages? The major feature here is that objects are being created and they are the basic entities of an object-oriented language. It uses an object-oriented programming technique and it binds related data and functions together into an object, and then it encourages reuse of these objects within the same and other programs. So here, one thing to note is binding of data and functions into an object. So here data and functions are not independent of each other. Rather, they are put together into a single unit, which is a concept called encapsulation. As the word suggests, encapsulation means wrapping up. And here you see that the data and functions are going to wrapped up in a single unit, and that is the programming principle that is being used in object-oriented languages. Now, the object-oriented languages also support a lot of features of object-oriented programming, which means that they are going to support inheritance, they are going to support polymorphism, abstraction, encapsulation, and all these concepts together make it very, very powerful as a programming paradigm. The next thing is about built-in objects. The object-oriented programming languages, they support a lot of built-in objects so that you can go ahead and use the utility of built-in objects to create your own classes and make programming available in such a manner that these objects are being used for meeting the goals. Now let me tell you about some of the very popular object-oriented languages. C# has been a very popular object-oriented language. Nowadays, a lot of programming is taking place using C#. Java and Visual Basic.NET are the examples of object-oriented languages. Now the basic question arises, what are object-based languages and how are they different from object-oriented languages? Now, object-based languages, they support the usage of object and encapsulation, but they do not support the inheritance concept or the concept of polymorphism. So we can understand that inheritance and polymorphism are concepts which are only going to be supported by object-oriented languages, and object-based languages are going to support encapsulation, but they would not support inheritance or polymorphism. Additionally, they are not also going to support built-in objects. So when we want to differentiate between object-oriented languages and object-based languages, we can be very clear that those languages that are supporting inheritance, polymorphism, and those who support built-in objects, they are clearly identified as object-oriented languages. Whereas object-based languages will only support encapsulation, but they are not going to support inheritance or polymorphism. Also, that we would not have the support of built-in objects in object-based languages. A few of the examples of object-based languages include JavaScript, VB, etc. In these languages, these are powerful languages that support object-oriented programming, but these are not going to support, as I said, the inheritance and polymorphism concepts. So these can be used for programming, but in areas where you don't have the requirement of the usage of inheritance or polymorphism. So that clearly differentiates between object-oriented programming and object-based programming languages. So let me now come to the conclusion. In today's lecture, you have learnt about message passing mechanism, you have learnt about object-oriented languages, object-based languages, and you have also seen how to differentiate between object-oriented languages and object-based languages. To once more give you a clear understanding, message passing is basically passing of messages between two entities, and in the programming, these two entities can be referred to as objects. We have seen how the objects are going to communicate with each other. We have seen examples of object-oriented languages and also object-based languages. I hope this understanding will help you as a programmer so that you can go ahead and use your programming constructs to create wonderful programs in future. Thank you for watching.